Hi YouTube, welcome to the best beginner's guide for Marvel Rivals. My name is Abby. I'm a top 500 Overwatch player who since then transitioned over to more of a coaching role. I love hero shooters and Marvel Rivals is right up my alley. I dedicated over hundreds of hours in the different alpha and beta tests, and I feel like I've come up with a great beginner's guide for teaching you one character from each role to get started with your journey in Marvel Rivals. This is great for anybody that's new to the genre, just getting introduced to the game, and just for people that love playing games like this. Let's not waste any more time. Enough about me and more about you. So starting us off is going to be the DPS role in this game, the duelist role, and everybody's favorite Scarlet Witch is coming in as one of the best beginner heroes to get started with. Guys, Scarlet Witch is great at even carrying games, so if you can get a hold of her kit and understand how to best utilize her by listening to what I have to say, then you're going to be a very scary threat on the field. Scarlet Witch also does a great job at shutting down the mobile characters in this game because of her primary fire, so let's get started. And speaking of her primary fire, that's the first thing I want you to learn about the Scarlet Witch. Chaos Control allows Wanda to release these magic chaos tentacles that latch onto an enemy and deal damage based on a percentage of their max health. It also begins to restore her chaos energy meter. You might be asking, what's the chaos energy meter? That's the thing over here in the middle of your screen. Now you might be asking, well, Abby, what is the chaos energy meter used for? And my faithful viewer, I have you covered. It's used for Wanda's alternate fire called the Chthonian Burst. Wanda consumes the chaos energy meter in order to fire out explosive magic missiles. You do have to aim these. There's no soft aimbot on them, so do, aim with them well. And once they go out, they do a decent amount of burst damage. And the way to best utilize this for Wanda's kit in order to do damage when you're dueling another enemy is to utilize your primary fire, follow up with your alt fire in order to get good burst damage onto an enemy. Moving on, Wanda's first ability is called the Dark Seal. The Dark Seal is where she shoots out a little projectile, and once it lands on an enemy or on an area, Wanda can press E again to generate a force field that will periodically stun anybody caught within that force field's range. Moving over, Wanda's second ability is called the Mystic Projection. Mystic Projection allows Wanda to enter a phased state, and she enters free flight and can fly around. You can move up, down, left, and right, so it's omnidirectional. Be sure to use Mystic Projection very carefully because it does have a decently high cooldown on 8 seconds, so Wanda does become really vulnerable to getting flanked or mowed down, so be very careful with how you utilize your Mystic Projection and your Dark Seal. Dark Seal can be a very useful ability to shut down mobile characters or even characters that are pretty much just running up to you, hold them in place, and finish them off with your primary and alt fire combos. Wanda does come with a unique passive called Telekinesis. If she holds the jump button, she will fall down much slower, so it's basically hovering. And finally, Wanda comes with a team-up ability with Magneto, where she infuses Magneto with the Chaos Energy, but I'm not going to confuse you with that team-up stuff in this video. Right now, let's get back to the Scarlet Witch and talk about how to best utilize her. Honestly, she's actually very simple and straightforward. Use your primary fire and your alt fire in order to do good burst damage onto the enemy. You can follow up with Dark Seal in order to hold them in place and stop them from moving away. And then if you feel like you're taking too much pressure, you can use the Mystic Projection to phase out of a fight, get to safety, and then poke again. Wanda does have decent poke with the Chthonian Burst, but do bear in mind that if you can't use your Chaos Control on the enemies, her Chaos Energy meter is going to take a bit of time to start recharging once again. Finally, Wanda's ultimate is called Reality Erasure. She will enter free flight, charging up a lot of energy, and then explode and deal massive AoE damage, and this can potentially one-shot the entire enemy team. The damage on this is 750. It can be blocked by a lot of things in the game, so you have to be really careful on how you use it. In my opinion, the best way to use Wanda's Reality Erasure is to actually tag team it with her Shift ability, her second ability called Mystic Projection. So you want to phase in, sneak up somehow behind the enemy, use Reality Erasure, explode that area, confirm some multi-kills, and then move on. So let's move over to the healing-based role, the support role, or in this game's name, the strategists. Jeff the Landshark is a great character for beginners to pick up. He's also absolutely adorable, so why won't you play him? So let's get started with Jeff's abilities. These are relatively simple and straightforward. Jeff's primary fire is called the Joyful Splash. He will unleash a torrent of healing towards his teammates and heal them just by holding down the left click. Jeff's alternate fire is called the Aqua Burst, where he will shoot out a burst damage towards the enemy that can deal damage. Basically, your primary fire will heal, and your right clicks, which are burst damage balls, water balls that he shoots out at the enemy, they're going to be able to do some damage. Jeff does come with a unique passive called Oblivious Cuteness, and this cuteness allows Jeff to take less damage from critical hits. Jeff's first ability is called the Healing Bubble, where he spits out bubbles, and to whichever ally takes these healing bubbles, they're going to get a healing increase on them and also a speed boost that will allow your teammates to walk up even faster. Jeff's second ability is called Hide and Seek, where he will go underwater or underground in this case, dive in and swim around with his dorsal fin exposed, but he gets a movement boost. Jeff can heal while submerged within and also gains a wall crawl ability. Finally, Jeff's kit culminates with the ultimate ability called It's Jeff, and this is where he dives underwater, underground, swims up to enemies or allies and basically pop out, bite and eat everybody, and then you can throw out your teammates or enemies in an area. There's a lot of ways to use this ability, but one of the most funniest ways to use this is to eat up the enemy, approach an area where you can throw them off the map, or you can jump off the map with them and then take them all out. It is absolutely hilarious. So that's going to be it for our strategist, Jeff the Land Shark. Finally, moving on over to the tank role, the Vanguards. It is one of my favorite characters to play, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange's primary fire is called the Daggers of Denak, or I'm pretty sure I butchered the pronunciation over there. Anyways, pressing the primary fire button is going to allow you to shoot out those daggers and damage enemies. They do a decent amount of damage. Now, while you are shooting out the daggers, it does charge up a very unique mechanic that Doctor Strange comes with, and that's called the Price of Magic. When Doctor Strange is doing damage, he's going to accumulate dark magic. If the dark magic is stacked up for too long, Doctor Strange will be cursed with an anti-heal effect on himself. So now you might be asking, Abby, well, what do I do if I have the dark magic stacked up? Well, that takes us to the first ability that I want to talk about for Doctor Strange, and that is the Maelstrom of Madness, where you can release the dark magic to deal damage to nearby enemies. This can do a lot of damage, so be very mindful when you are playing Doctor Strange to be stacking up the dark magic and then releasing it. Release it to not anti-heal yourself, or release it to do big burst damage. So that is very, very important. Doctor Strange's second ability, which is basically his ginormous mandala disc, the Shield of the Seraphim, where he summons a protective barrier in front of himself to protect against damage. It has 800 shield value, so do be careful in how you can use it, because this can get bursted down very quickly if you're using it way too often. Try to balance using your shield and your HP bar carefully so that it doesn't get burst down very, very quickly. Doctor Strange comes with a very, very powerful game-changing ability called the Pentagram of Farala, and this opens portals between two locations, one where Doctor Strange is standing, another where you can put anywhere on the map. This has the highest cooldown in the game, 180 seconds. Now, I'm gonna use a separate video in a Doctor Strange guide to teach how to best use this, but the best way to use this is to just put this behind the enemy team, flank with your team, and then use your ultimate. Speaking of ultimate, that brings us to Doctor Strange's ultimate, which is called the Eye of Agamotto. Eye of Agamotto is Doctor Strange's ultimate. When you press the ultimate button, he's going to shoot out a big wave of magic which will separate the enemy's souls from their bodies. Damage dealt to the souls will be transferred back to their physical bodies, so do keep that in mind. It works really well tag teaming the ultimate with Wanda's and then just obliterating everybody that got stunned by it. One more thing, Doctor Strange does have an ability called the Cloak of Levitation, that when you press shift, Doctor Strange will go up in the air, and then you can hold the spacebar button and he will start to hover in place just like Wanda, as we spoke before. So everybody, that's going to be it for this video. This is just a quick introduction to some of the, what I would say, a little bit more of the simpler characters to play in Marvel Rivals, because I'm not going to lie, Marvel Rivals has a lot of complex characters. Even Doctor Strange and the Scarlet Witch can be a little bit complex to play with some of the mechanics within their kits, but comparatively to the rest of the roster, I would say they're relatively simple and easy to pick up. Now, with that being said, if you're interested in more educational content from Marvel Rivals, be sure to hit the subscribe button. It helps support the channel, helps support me for free, and I really appreciate it. With that being said, I will see you in the next video.